I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us here on Closing Arguments tonight. And what a big day out in Los Angeles. Finally, an arrest for the murder of Aiden Leos, that little 6-year-old boy in that road rage case. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But let's begin tonight with what we have been showing you with our gavel-to-gavel coverage all day long here on Court TV. It's the trial of the former airline pilot. Christian Kit Martin is his name. He was facing a court-martial because he was in the military, got into some trouble, and prosecutors say he murdered one of the witnesses who was going to testify against him at the court-martial. They say he also murdered 2 other people, one of whom was the witness's wife, the other a neighbor of his. Triple murder. 3 people, 3 lives taken out. Well, he says he didn't do it. He says he's got an alibi for when he did it. And the alibi is being provided apparently by his fiancée, who he was with the night all this happened. Now, we've seen a lot of cases, right, where people have alibi witnesses and they get up and they testify. And I don't know, maybe 9 times out of 10, 49 times out of 50, 99 times out of 100, the alibi witness will be called by the defense during their case. But that's not the situation here. This trial is very confusing to me on many different levels. And if it's confusing to me, I'm wondering what the jury is thinking about all this information that they're getting from different directions and what it all means. Because you've got the prosecution calling the defendant's alibi witness to the stand. Not just her, but her children as well, because apparently Christian Kit Martin lived with his fiancée and lived, and his fiancée's children also lived with them. So all 3 of them testified today. Again, called by the prosecution. Take a listen.
What time did the defendant go to work? Did he go to work?
Yes, 9 a.m.
And what time did he come home from work?
I don't recall specific times, but typically it would be between 5 and 6, 5 and 5:30, more precisely. I don't remember anything unusual about that day.
Nothing unusual about the 19th?
Except for things going on across the street.
You didn't hear anybody sneaking up and downstairs? No. Didn't hear cars starting, moving up and in and out of the driveway? No. Didn't see Kit sneaking around? No. If you had heard something out of the ordinary, you would have gone and checked it, right? You thought somebody was sneaking around in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I would have checked it.
But I think you told us that from everything you did and everything you saw, the 18 seemed like an ordinary day.
Normal day.
Thanks, I don't have any further questions.
Let's go back to the night of November 18th one more time. When you and your brother got home, your mom was home?
Yes.
Okay. Kit was home?
Yes.
Okay. Emma, at any time during the night of the 18th, did you see or hear or ever become aware of Kit leaving?
No, it's just a normal night.
Those are witnesses for the prosecution. Prosecutor called them. And yes, I know there's like this theory in the law where you call witnesses that may not help you to diffuse the impact a little bit. But when you do that, and you're talking about an alibi, you also give the defense an opportunity to lead their alibi witnesses through the alibi. And that way the testimony is exactly what you want, because all your witness has to say is yes, 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 yes. And the defense attorney gets to testify to the alibi. Unbelievable. I'm confused. I don't know why this is happening. There's a lot of things happening in this trial that are a little unorthodox, but we'll see. We'll see how it all turns out. Let's get some clarity. Joining us tonight from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae is with us. Also joining us in Atlanta, Georgia, someone who's seen a lot of trials, Superior and State Court Judge Gino Brogdon back with us. All right, Julia, let me start with you. I did get that right? It was the prosecution who called these witnesses to the stand who are providing somewhat of an alibi for this defendant who's been accused of murder, triple murder?
We are still in the prosecution's case in chief, though if you listen to the testimony today, you might have thought we'd already started the defense's case, because under cross-examination, these witnesses were great for the defendant, not just for providing the alibi that was provided to police initially when these murders happened, but also because they painted the picture of what home life was like with this defendant. During the fiance's testimony, Laura Spencer, under cross-examination, the attorney put up a picture of this family, a professional picture of all four of them together, and it stayed up almost the way that you would see when there's a victim family member testifying about their loved one and you put a picture of them up, just drawing on those emotions from the jury. And
it's pretty clear to everyone that they are standing by Kit, right? There's none of these three witnesses that we're looking at right now. I mean, none of them are like, oh my goodness, I can't believe there was a killer in our house.
Oh, very clear that they are behind him. There was nothing that came out in the testimony, even of the children who were teens at the time of this. Their father passed away, and they were, at the time of these murders, they were living with Kit Martin. Their mother had met them, and then they all moved into what they call the Big Yellow House together. And it sounded like it was a very smooth transition, that they did like him as a stepfather and referred to him as that on the stand today.
Wow. Judge, let me ask you, is there some long game that's being played here, maybe by the prosecution, that we don't know, that at the end of this case, during maybe a closing argument or something, they put together all these pieces and we don't realize what we're watching right now?
I think we'll be able to figure out their long game when we get there, Vinny. But I think your instincts are right on point. The only real purpose for calling these very dangerous witnesses for the prosecution is to diffuse their impact in setting up the alibi, and with some hope that maybe they start to do something that makes them unbelievable. But this was a gamble that I don't think paid off for the prosecution. These witnesses were too dangerous in terms of establishing both that Martin was at home, what kind of man he is, and the fear of his estranged wife. That outweighs the value of diffusing the impact of the alibi evidence. So this one makes me really scratch my head. This play by the prosecution is almost as bizarre as these murders themselves. I'm not sure why they did this.
Well, you mentioned the estranged wife, and that came up during Laura Spencer's testimony today. Wow. Let's take a listen.
I ran out of the house, out the back door, and there were 5 policemen pointing rifles at my head, yelling at me to put the phone down and to come on out.
And did you later learn that that was Hopkinsville Police Department, SWAT team?
Yes.
Were you able to go back in the house to even get your shoes?
No.
After that happened, did you spend one more night in that house?
None. Never.
Where did you live after that?
For 2 weeks, we lived in hotels, usually no more than like 3 nights at a time, 2 or 3 nights at a time. We moved around a lot.
Why were you moving hotels every few nights?
Because I was terrified. I felt like somebody had come to kill me, to punish Kit.
When you say somebody, who do you mean?
Joan Harmon.
Joan Harmon again, the estranged wife. Julia Janae, yesterday we were all talking about Joan Harmon's not going to testify. Defense wanted to call her. She's taken the fifth. She's not going to be on the stand. Jury's not going to hear from her. What does this jury know as we sit here tonight, based upon the testimony that's come before this jury, including what we just heard? What does this jury know about the woman we're looking at, Joan Harmon?
They know that she is the ex-wife of the defendant. They know that she was the one who made allegations that supported what the court-martial proceedings were going to be about. We know, they know that she was connected to the Phillips, that they were helping her to get a home and wanted to help take care of her children in not being with Kit Martin anymore. They also know that she had a phone of Pamela Phillips that she took to the AT&T store months after the murders, or over a month after the murders rather, but they don't have any information of why she was in possession of that phone. And they also know that she has a boyfriend who was related to a police lieutenant and a fire department worker that was on the scene of these murders almost out the gate. So they've been hearing her name through almost every witness, the majority of the witnesses that the prosecution has called so far. What they don't know is that they are not going to be hearing from Joan Harmon herself.
So, Judge, and that was a big ruling yesterday by the judge. She's not going to take the stand, but, you know, at the end of the day, the jury's got to figure out what happened here, right? I mean, that's their job. Figure out what happened. What are they going to do with Joan Harmon? I mean, she's a figure that keeps getting talked about. They're not going to meet her. They're not going to hear from her. I think that kind of opens the door for the defense to really paint her as some sort of a villain here that you're not going to see.
Absolutely, Vinny, absolutely. Unlike when the defendant himself takes the Fifth Amendment and chooses not to incriminate himself, the prosecution can't comment on that. With a witness who takes the Fifth Amendment, the prosecution, I'm sorry, not the defense and the prosecution could comment on a witness who is not under indictment who takes the Fifth. And the defense here will be able to say, Ms. Harmon took the Fifth because she was involved in this. And if she testified, she would incriminate herself. And that's why she's hiding behind the law. Now, that particularly fits here because remember, Vinny, the charges are a complicity kind of approach in terms of the defendant was complicit in committing these crimes because of I think they charged it that way because the evidence is weird. Normally in a murder case, they're trying to show this guy did it, and the defense would say, no, I didn't do it, somebody else did it. Here, they're saying he was involved, and his response is, I wasn't there, Joan was there. And so it makes her have a really special place in this trial. And I think to answer your question about what the jury has to do, they've got to decide based on kind of skeletal evidence whether Joan was the culprit. But that makes the alibi defense so important. If his alibi defense fails, the jury says, if you weren't at home, you did it. So they've got to be very careful on the defense and not get too headstrong.
Finally, there was some good stuff for the prosecution today. Steve and Steve testified. Take a listen to what they had to say about the defendant.
Prior to his murder, you had conversations with him?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember when was the last time you had a conversation with him prior to his murder?
And Judge, you would object to your say.
Overruled. I'd say it was approximately 2 weeks, somewhere like that, beforehand.
Okay. And did he mention something to you that alarmed you?
Yes, he did.
What did he say to you?
He said point blank that Kit Martin was going to kill him.
And he told you this how long before his murder?
It was approximately 2 weeks.
Prior to their murders, did you have conversations with Calvin Phillips?
I did.
And
Judge, you object to your say.
Overruled.
the conversations that you had with Mr. Phillips, what were they about?
Conversation with Mr. Phillips that called me over late one afternoon, and he wanted to speak to me, and he basically told me if he ever come up missing or dead, that look across the road, that all fingers would be pointing to Mr. Martin.
Okay. And that's the defendant here today?
Excuse me?
And that's the defendant here today?
Yes, sir.
Who he was talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you aware that Mr. Phillips was set to testify against the defendant?
I was.
All right, Julie Janae, this is a huge moment for the defense. I mean, they fought to get this testimony in. They won that battle, and I have no reason not to believe what these two witnesses are saying they heard.
Huge moment for the prosecution. They really wanted to let this jury hear what the victims were saying leading up to their death. Though I think that for the jury, hearing this after already hearing from the fiancée, Laura Spencer, and she made fear very real for this jury, saying that she was scared of Joan Harmon in those days after the murders. These other witnesses came after that, and because they aren't the ones who were in fear, because this has been 6 years later, and because they were very limited in what they could talk about, because they could only say exactly those statements about the fear. They couldn't get into all of the context. It was interesting that you just didn't get the same emotion from those witnesses, but very important there were a total of 3 that testified today that said there were statements made by these victims expressing their fear of Martin leading up to that court-martial hearing that was only 2 weeks after the murders.
All right, Julie Janae in Kentucky for us tonight, a big day. It all continues tomorrow. The judge will stay with us. We've got more to discuss with Judge Gino Brogdon.